Warning: the following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
I was all night fishing by myself at the same lake as the other times. It's my first sighting and I don't know. It has really shaken me up. It was about 10:30 p.m. on Friday night. Dead calm, light fog, but only on the water. It was fairly good visibility. I had my boat started to go down the long channel on this T-shaped lake. I heard a very deep gut-type growl, but didn't see anything. I pulled out my spotlight, which was at 2 million candle light power. It died in a couple of seconds. The growl was becoming more aggressive. I reached in my storage bin and pulled out my Taurus 9mm. I chambered a full metal jacket round and aimed it in the direction of the noise. This thing had been squatted down by a bush next to where 4 old boats were turned upside down. When it stood up, it was massive. I could see it from the waist up. It started to move away from me, but kept looking at me. I stepped on the trolling motor, turned the boat away from it to put more distance between us. I watched it the whole time. As I was going away, it turned, threw its arms in the air, yes, arms, and charged about 10 feet or so. I spun the boat around and it violently threw its arms down. It was breathing so heavily it sounded like it was hyperventilating. I still had my weapon aimed at it. I knew a 9mm wouldn't do much with a chest shot, so I had it trained towards where its testicles may be. I couldn't see them, but was locked on that general area. It let out a scream and stomped off. It continued to vocalize for 20 minutes or so as it left. I couldn't make out much facial features except lighter skin on its face. It was black-colored, approximately 7.5 to 8 feet tall. I would guess at least 600 to 700 pounds. Broad shoulders, and its hands were down to its knees. I refused to load my boat on the trailer till sunup. I don't know what its problem was, but it had an attitude. I pretty much believe my night bass fishing days are over. I can't imagine what would have happened if I hadn't drawn my gun. I am convinced it knew what a gun can do. I saw both Bigfoots in the same place. First, in January 2008, I was deer hunting. The wind was blowing slightly in my direction. It was a little after 4 p.m. I was watching a nice-sized buck making his way down a ditch towards my direction. The buck stopped suddenly and was staring to his left, my right, looking toward a small food plot. I looked in time to see a Bigfoot measuring 7 to 7.5 feet walking into a thicket. It had reddish-brown hair. Didn't see the face, but did see the right hand and fingers. The creature was probably about 45 yards away. The second time was in December 2011. I was hunting in the same place, just moved my stand on the other side of the ditch. It was about 3 p.m. I just got in the stand and saw a deer running hard down the ditch, then turned and headed my way. Right behind the deer, probably 90 yards or so, was a very large male Bigfoot. I know he was a male because I had a good long look at him through my scope. The deer had been run hard, its tongue was hanging out and was deep chest breathing. When the Bigfoot got to where the deer turned to head my way, he stopped and looked at me. He knew I was there and was not happy. He made a gesture showing that he was pissed. He probably stared at me for a good 30 to 40 seconds, then turned and walked back the way he came. I think there may have been another Bigfoot to the left, the direction he was running the deer, because as the Bigfoot left, I heard a deep rumbling growl from a thicket over 100 yards away. I know this Bigfoot was a different one than the first one. The second one was gray and black, and the face looked just like Patty. In 1974, I was 12 years old, visiting my sister M and her family in Davie, Florida, with my cousin A, who was 15 at the time. One night, we were sleeping on a pull-out couch in the sitting room, when we smelled something like a skunk, only worse. We asked my sister what it was, and she said it was the skunk ape, and he comes around in the hottest summers. We didn't believe her, so we asked our friends, and they said it was real. One night while we were sleeping, we seen a huge shadow come across the picture window. Then it turned, looked at itself, and let out a blood-curdling scream that scared us half to death. Then it turned and walked to the side of the house, and we followed it by going into the side bathroom. There, it squatted down to eat a wild watermelon. Then it went to the back of the house to a man-made lake, squatted down and drank some water. A few nights later, the beast attacked a wild horse in his corral, but the horse got away by jumping over the corral and ran off into the pasture. The rancher came out and took a few shots at the beast, but it got away. When the horse came back, it had fingerprints on its hindquarters, not scratches, but finger marks. A few nights later, the beast came back and killed a farmer's bull. The farmer took a few shots at the beast, but missed it. At that same time, my sister and her husband Jay were coming home from a night out, and the sheriff and his deputy were on patrol. We jumped into Jay's car and followed the deputy when the beast stepped out of the darkness and was hit by the police car. The beast went down, and when it got up, it looked into the police car and let out a blood-curdling yell. We were about 10 feet behind the deputy car when the beast hit the police car with both hands, and the back of the car came up off the ground. Then it limped off into the swamp. When the sheriff got there, the car looked like it hit a utility pole. Just then, the farmer came over and told the sheriff that his prized bull was dead. The bull was huge, at least a ton, with its head ripped off and thrown across the pasture. That's when they called in the state police with their horses and dogs and helicopters. They searched the swamp all night, but found nothing. I've had 2 encounters. My first encounter was in the 90s. My brother and I would go stay part of the summer at our grandma's house north of Cohasset, Minnesota. My cousins lived about 1/8 of a mile down the road. We spent the summer in the woods, four-wheeling, fort building, camping, fishing, riding bikes, and about everything else that went along with living in the country in them days. It happened right at sundown. We were all riding our bikes, and we would always look for cars before leaving the driveway and riding on the tar. That's when we noticed this giant, hair-covered bipedal being running away from our direction. We all just stood there in shock, really not knowing what we were all looking at. I don't remember how long we looked at it, and then a car turned on the road, and once that car turned down the road, it ran into the brush in the woods. And then once that car passed, it came back on the ditch and continued on that route heading west. Then another car turned on that road, and it ran in the woods. It then came back out, but that car tapped its brakes in that area like it had seen it. Then it continued probably a total distance from us within 1/8 of a mile. Then it turned and went north on a logging road. We never seen it again, and also is really weird is we seen like a shooting star, but it almost looked like it went backwards from where we were. Later on in life, we told our grandma, and she didn't really believe us, which is understandable, but we definitely know what we had seen.